Well, it's a very good morning from him, and of course, it's a very good morning from me. Hope you're all well. Hope everybody's having a good time this summer because the summer is upon us, and we're welcoming you to our mortgage live streams. Let's crack on then with some good ideas, some tips, techniques, things to help you in the mortgage business or whatever financial advice business you're in. Let's get on to some ideas. Got a couple of topics for you today. I want to take a look at savings interest, and I want to take a look at a good business angle for you. Actually, I call it's about market share. So that's my concept, which I'm going to share with you a little bit later on. So let's get cracking then with the serious one, the technical one for you. As you know, we're updating all our materials at the moment, our boot camps and podcasts and everything. And I read an article about savings interest, and that's why I want to talk to you about savings. I'm talking about boring retail savings, and the interest that people earn from that, and where there might be some impacts for you as a mortgage advisor, possibly, or financial advisor anyway. So what we'll do is we'll go to that topic straight away. We'll go on air first of all, shall we? Ta-da, ta-da, go on air because we can and we should because that's what we're all about. Hope you're all good. Hope you're well. You may be off on your hollybobs, as I call it, sometime in August. You may not be. You might be slowing down. You might be enjoying the weather, which is awful. But apparently on the is it the 13th of August, it gets better. I went on this, the 2-week Met Office thing, and on the 13th of August, we got sunshine for the whole day. So maybe that's our summer starting. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get on with the first topic, and I'm going to head over to the whiteboard for this one. So let's pop across. Welcome. Let's take a look at the topic of tax on savings interest. But I'm calling this one a modern twist. Why am I calling it a modern twist? Well, because a modern twist on this means that now this has become a problem for people. Now, Shawbrook Bank, good bank, they've done some research into this recently. Everyone has some ulterior motives when they do research because they're pinning or they're marketing their deposit accounts. You see, they're a retail bank. So they did this research which talks about they reckon about 3 million people in the UK are going to be having to pay income tax on their savings interest in the next sort of few years, which is amazing because last year it was a fraction of that number. The amount of government money that they're making from tax on interest savings is just going through the roof. So what's this about? Well, their research shows that if you've got a deposit account or savings account, let's just put a little pass book here. When I was in the building society trade many years ago, we used to have pass books, but it's all gone now, isn't it? So you've got a deposit account with some money in it. Now, their research shows that with interest rates going up, of course, if you want to pay tax, which is a bit tough, no one wants to pay tax. But anyway, if you had 18 grand in there, £18,000, that's the amount in your deposit account, by the way, and you earn interest of 6% per annum, and remember, interest nowadays is all gross, then that's going to take you above the personal allowances we'll look at in a second for you, and you're going to have to pay tax on it. How bad is that? You have to do a self-assessment tax return online, don't need paper, and you're going to have to pay some tax. Now, when the rates of interest were about 1% last year on deposit accounts, even less than that, you needed over £100,000 in your deposit account to get anywhere near paying tax. So it doesn't need a lot of rates going up for you to start paying tax. So let's do a technical recap for you on all of this just to make sure we're okay. Because this is good for your CPD, it's good for your, obviously for your CMAT. If you're studying CMAT 1, this is essential. First of all, savings tax is a tax you pay on any interest that you earn. That's the whole point. And you're taxed on this, less the allowances we look at in a second for you, you're taxed on this at your marginal rate. Now, be careful of that. Now, marginal rate, of course, means, somebody emailed me the other day, said, what's marginal rate mean, Paul? So there's me assuming that everybody knows what marginal rate is. Now, here's my famous little buckets that I use for tax calculations. And this bucket represents the amount of your income from all sources, usually your salary and stuff like that. So your income goes in there. Now, when you put your income in the bucket, you've then got to work out the tax. Now, for most people, they have a personal allowance, which is nil. That's just over the 10 grand mark, isn't it? So that eats up quite a bit of your salary where there's nil tax to pay. But then you have a great big basic rate band, as we call it, basic rate band, And you can look at the tax sheets for that one. So that's sort of, 30 odd thousand, 30, 40,000 pounds of your salary, which is charged at 20%. Then you have a high rate band, which is even more, of course. High rate band. Now that's where 40% tax gets charged. We know that, don't we? And then if you're unlucky enough, you have an additional rate band on anything above that. So that means that people pay tax on their salary and stuff. Now, when you earn money, salary, profits, whatever, it goes in first. And that creates your marginal rate of tax. So, for example, if somebody was earning like mega bucks from their salary, and their salary was up here, let's just put their salary in there. Yeah. So say that was something like, 60,000, which is not mega bucks, is it? It's what MPs earn, isn't it? Anyway, so that person has a marginal tax, their marginal tax rate is 40% because they're in the high rate band. Now, savings interest, the amount of money you earn from interest on your savings gets added to your marginal rate. So this poor dude here, she'd have to pay 40% tax on her savings interest. That's not to be sniffed at, is it? Now, the government do give you allowances. They give you a personal savings allowance. Let's just put that over here, called a PSA, a personal savings allowance. And there's different figures, but at the moment it's a grand for basic rate taxpayers, and it's £500 for high rate taxpayers. But check the figures in your tax sheet. For additional rate taxpayers, remember this is at your marginal rate. Additional rate taxpayers, you don't get none because these people are loaded, so they don't need it, do they? I'm getting very socialist in my views, aren't I? So, as you can appreciate, you can earn quite a lot of interest without paying tax. But that's the point about this 18 grand thing. 18,000 at 6% breaches the £1,000. Even less, of course, if you're a higher rate taxpayer. And anything above that gets added to your marginal rate. So, say for example, this person earned, I don't know, say for example, they earned £2,000 in savings tax, sorry, in savings interest, I should say. Now that less than £1,000 or £500 for higher rate taxpayer, that gets added to their marginal rate there. So you see the color coding of that, and that gets taxed at 40%. That's how it works. And there's going to be a lot of people having to pay that. Now, lower earners, people that don't earn any other money from salary or profit, say, for example, they earn all their money from savings, they actually get quite a bit of a boost, really, because lower earners get a starting band of £5,000. You probably read about that. They got this £5,000 savings interest allowance, which effectively adds another 500 quid to their nil band, because personal allowance, of course, is nil. They also get the savings allowance of £5,000. There you go. Let's put that in there for you. You don't need to do any calculations for that, but essentially, somebody's not earning any money at all from any other sources. They don't have a marginal rate. They're nil. When they work out how much they earn from savings, because that's their only form of income, you get an extra £5,000 of a savings allowance. Then you add your personal allowance, so they get 17, 18 odd £1,000 of tax-free pay from their interest that they earn. But when they breach that, they have to start paying tax. So that's just a little bit of an update for you on the tech side. So what does this all mean? Well, as a mortgage advisor, probably not a lot, really, because you probably don't really ask questions about people's interests on their savings. If you're a financial advisor, or if you want to pass people on to a financial advisor, you'll be thinking ISAs, because of course cash ISAs are tax free. So although this person's earning £2,000 in interest and they got say £500 personal savings allowance, so 1,500 quid, they're going to have to pay 40%. It's quite a lot of money. That's quite a lot of tax. So if they put this deposit into an ISA, so say they transfer that to a cash ISA, there you go, then they wouldn't have to pay no tax. How cool is that? Cash ISAs have been pretty irrelevant recently for the tax because, again, people never really pay tax, but now interest rates are higher. Problem with cash ISAs is the interest rate on them is quite low. Martin Lewis was on this at the weekend. He was saying that people should just transfer to normal accounts because it pays a higher rate of interest, but interest rate changes. The other thing to think about is pension contributions, because a pension contribution will effectively take you below, won't it? Because if you put like 18 grand deposit account, you could, if you worked out the numbers, you could put that into a pension. obviously you can't withdraw it until you're, like, really old, 57, 56, or even later than that. But that, of course, would then reduce your marginal rate even more, because effectively pension contributions get reduce your income really for tax purposes. That's where you get tax relief. So therefore you pay no tax. So a pension contribution would not be a bad shout here to get rid of that tax band if the person's willing to put their money into pension. But obviously you've got to do a proper fact find on that one, look at their risk, their time horizon, and all sorts of things as well, because that's what financial advisors do. The other thing is an offset mortgage. I told you there'd be something for mortgage advisors. Let's just put that in a different colour for you, put that in red. So you've got this situation, say, for example, customer's got a few grand in the bank, probably more than 18. Look at an offset mortgage, because an offset mortgage is a pretty cool thing, because it's a mortgage that's charged at the variable rate, maybe a tracker. So it's an up and down rate, it's not fixed. But what it does is it charges you interest per month on your net mortgage. Obviously, you have a mortgage, but you have a savings account attached to it. So it charges you interest on the difference between the two. It takes your mortgage and it takes off your savings money. It doesn't pay you any interest on your savings, but what it does, it stops your mortgage from being charged too much. So say, for example, you had a mortgage of £100,000 and you had savings of 18, they'd only charge you £82,000 mortgage or interest on £82,000 of your mortgage. And if your mortgage rate is 7 or 8%, tracker, which it would be, maybe you're doing it temporary until rates calm down. That's not a bad shout, offset mortgage in these cases. I tell you what, it makes you think, doesn't it, about the CMAT 1 textbook? Because people moan at me and say, well, all this stuff, Paul, it's irrelevant for mortgage advisors. No, I get it, but it's not. When you look at it properly, you do the proper job, and you do a proper fact find, you start to look at issues around the client situation, and then you can talk to them about this, and an offset mortgage suddenly becomes quite a useful thing to do. Mortgage advising, financial advisors, is not just a simple thing of finding the right rate, bish bash bang, which it has been maybe the last few years. You've got to look for different angles now. You've got to give the customer a decent outcome for their time. That's what it's about now. You're charging a fee. You've got to give them a proper fact find. Anyway, that's tax on savings interest, a modern twist. Hope that's been useful. Bye. All right, let's head back over here, shall we? And we'll continue on with our live stream. That's the technical update for you. What I want to do now is take a look at some selling ideas for you, or some business building ideas for you. I've been talking to a number of heads of networks this morning, and these guys run mortgage networks with lots of members, and we've been talking about the challenges that mortgage brokers are facing. And I've been passing on details of our mortgage CPD product, which has live streams and podcasts, all free. And they're all saying, this is great, this is what our members want. So we're giving you as many ideas as we can to build your business. And I want to give you a cracking idea, actually, even if I say so myself, which is one that I think you'll want to take on. So anyway, I'm going to head over to this whiteboard. Or is it that whiteboard? Don't know. But I'm going to press this button and I'm going to head over here so that I can talk to you about this one here. This is called It's About Market Share, which is my concept today. Now, a market share, as you can appreciate, is a business term for having more potential customers to sell to. It's if you're selling baked beans, for example, you might have a 25% share of the market for baked beans. Heinz advertise really well. As a mortgage advisor, mortgage broker, you will have a particular percentage of market share in your niche, whatever that is. And during the next year or so, one thing you may want to try and do is to expand your market share so that when things get busy again, which they will, because it's always cyclical, then you've got more people to sell to. It makes sense, doesn't it? So let me show you how to do that. First of all, back to my Shawbook Bank people under their brand TML, which is a mortgage brand. They've done some more research because they've been busy doing research, haven't they? And they've been doing some research on the generation rent. I love that phrase. It's a bit like the Iraq War series, wasn't it? Which you might have called Generation War, wasn't it? But Generation Rent is where this comes from. Now, Generation Rent is a fictitious cohort of people, Generation Y probably mostly, a few Gen X's, who rent properties in the private sector rather than buy. Now, for whatever reason, that's what they do. And arguably, possibly, most of them want to aspire to own their own home. You don't have to say that, it's not always true. But anyway, they've been doing some research on generation rent to see what their house buying aspirations are. And they've got some problems because interest rates, of course, are surging off upwards. and the mortgage monthly payments are surging upwards, and their general affordability, the ability to get a big mortgage, is going down. So, they're not in a good place really, and their rent's gone up, so they're not able to save so much deposit to put down. So it's not good. So many of them are putting off their plans. Many of them are just paying more on their mortgage if they have to get a mortgage. Some are moving to cheaper areas, nothing wrong with that, which then pushes prices up in the subsidiary areas, in the suburban areas. But many are just putting it off. The upshot is that most generation rent, if I call them, are playing a waiting game. They've renewed their rent for another 12 months or whatever. They've got a smaller place, cheaper rent, whatever. They've got rent going on, and they're playing a waiting game. They're waiting for prices to be known because they're worried about prices coming down. They're waiting for interest rates to come down, which they won't. By the way, interest rates are like pouring Coke into a glass, isn't it? You get a bottle of Coke or Pepsi, whatever your favorite. You take a glass, you pour it in quickly, you get this massive froth. That's what happens when bank base rates go up, and then the froth causes all sorts of turmoil, and the froth, will calm down back to liquid, and that's what's happening to interest rates at the moment. They've calmed back down again to liquid. So that's my pouring Coke metaphor for you. The other thing about interest rates is that inflation is the big issue, isn't it? So we're trying to get that down. The problem with inflation is you can bring it down to the 6% mark. It's not difficult to do that, but it's getting it down to the 2. It's like going on a diet, isn't it? I don't know if you've ever been on a diet. Maybe you're going on holiday and you're going to go on a diet this summer to lose, say, a stone, and you get going quickly and you lose 6 or 7 pounds easily. But it's the last few pounds that takes a lot of time to get rid of. Remember, it's the same thing with taming inflation. So the Bank of England, although they'll probably stop increasing rates in the autumn, possibly, we don't know, they will keep them high for a long time because they will not get inflation down to 2% for a while yet. You wait and see. It's like losing weight. So the upshot is rates are going to be relatively frothy for quite a while. So where do you make your money as a mortgage advisor? Where do you make your revenue? Because you've got a business to run, you've got kids to feed, and all that kind of stuff. So where do you make your revenue? You do it in 2 ways. The first way is through product transfers, REMOs. Love that word, don't you? REMOs, protection sales, advisor referral fees. So that's another one as well. You might want to do all sorts of other types of business, but it's product transfers and remos is where you'll make your money. There's millions of people doing product transfers and remortgages at the moment, and if you're good at it, you've got a decent client bank, and you're good at contacting clients, you will make enough money to keep the the wolf from the door. What you also need to do, number 2, and this is the key one here, is to build your market share. Build market share now of these people, of these potential first-time buyers. So these people that are waiting, you want to build your market share. How do you do that? Let me share with you how to do that. Well, what you want to do here is you want to get back to that incubator thing we talked about last week. Let's just remind you what that looks like. So if I can just key into my incubator so we can see what that looked like. If you can remember, it looked a bit like this. Let's just put that up as well for you. Remember the incubator. Now, the incubator is a CRM system, customer relationship management system, that houses customer data. And what you want to do is you want to do various marketing activities to bring people into your incubator. And the incubator is a place where people pile in. So remember the picture, people join it. There's a dude there joining in from your social media marketing, your Facebook advertising, your LinkedIn, whatever it is, and they join many other people. These are your generation rent people that you've reached out to. And I'll show you how you get those people. And once they're in your incubator, you then look after them. And the theme is quite simple. The theme, just to write this down for you, don't want you to forget this one. The theme is how to be mortgage ready. That's all. How to be mortgage ready. Now, the clever thing about this, I think it's clever anyway, is that there's no selling going on. So when you harvest their email addresses to put into your incubator through your social media activities or whatever activities you do, you will promise them that you will show them over the next year, 18 months, loads of tips and techniques on how to be mortgage ready. It's as simple as that. You're not going to sell them stuff or show them anything that isn't linked to the theme of how to be mortgage ready. So when they are ready to get their mortgage, when interest rates calm down a little bit possibly, or they get used to the fact that interest rates are 5% or so, fixed 5 years, fixed 10 years or whatever, then they reach out to you. So how do you do that? Now, back to my picture of the incubator, just so we're comfortable with that. Let's just put that back up again for you. Back to my picture. Let's go over here. Here we are. Let's go back to the incubator so that we're happy with that one. Oops. There you go. There's your incubator. We'll get there in the end, don't we? Back to the picture of incubator. What you do with that incubator is you keep it warm with information about how to be mortgage ready. Now, you'll send them an article once a week. You'll write articles about how to improve your credit score, for example, changes in mortgage affordability rules, or monthly payments on interest rates, or my thoughts on interest rates, or whatever it is, or how to ensure that you have all the paperwork ready, or something like that. You know the topic. You'll do videos on the same basis. Maybe you'll do a live stream like I do, but you'll probably do little shorts on YouTube, using your phone. You might do a little podcast. Everyone's doing podcasts, but okay, do a podcast. Nothing wrong with that. But you're doing all sorts of things now to help them to be mortgage ready. You might want to run some seminars, online seminars. Get yourself good at presenting online and run seminars for all your people. Again, how to improve your credit score, how to prove your income. If you're self-employed, what you need to do to your accounts, that sort of thing. So you're mortgage ready. So when things pick up, you're good to go. Now here's the key. Here's the real secret. You have to have a call to action, the next step. Because what you want, look closely at the picture, what you want is for these people, when they're ready, to reach out to you, and there's the incubator moving up one, reaching all the way down to your sales process. And your sales process, remember, begins with a 15-minute discovery call, free of charge, where you talk about everything you need to sell these services, etc., find out what their goals are. So your call to action then is always to fix up a 15-minute discovery call. So at the end of your podcast, at the end of your articles, at the end of your video shorts, just say something like, okay, free 15-minute mortgage discovery call with me on the phone, on video, whatever you want, to find out what your goals are and how we can help you. Oh, and if you apply to me direct, I'll give you 10% off the mortgage advisory fee. Nothing wrong with that. 10% is not much. So you might want to increase your fee by 10% before you start charging it. But it's just a little call to action for them to remember, because you want them to reach out to you. It's the whole point about doing that. And you'll get business. You won't get business this year, maybe not early part of next year, but back end of 24, before the election, maybe after the election in 25, you'll start to see there'll be a lot of people in your incubator who will start to reach out to you for mortgage advice, because you've got the mortgage ready, and they know you by this point because they've received stuff from you. They like you, they trust you because they've received information from you. So all the trust secrets are there as well. So that's how you do it. And that is what I call it's all about market share, how to be mortgage ready. So there you are. There's a little free idea there for you to help you in your business. Hope that's been useful. Bye. Alrighty, let's head back over here, shall we? And we'll say our farewells, because we've given you a couple of good techniques today. Hopefully they've all been useful for you. Again, what's going on here at Tivoli Studios, I'm doing my Saturday morning podcasts all throughout August. So if you want to update yourself on CMAT 1, we're looking at products actually this time over the next 4 weeks. So just half an hour, 35 minutes live podcasts. You can come onto that by getting on our member list. And we tell you where they are. Member list, by the way, just to remind you, you can get your member list by heading here. There you go. So just scan in that QR code and you'll get onto our member list. And we tell you about all these things as well. Still got my How to Be a Successful Mortgage Advisor tomorrow evening and Thursday evening as well. And we're doing a lot of updates to materials and stuff like that. And taking a bit of time out as well. Not wrong with that. So going for nice walks in the countryside and stuff like that as well. Anyway, hope you have a fantastic week. Enjoy the rain. Apparently it's raining every day this week, but we're getting quite used to that. It's good for the garden, as they say, but only if you've got a garden. Makes you wonder that. Anyway, I'll be seeing you next week. So have fun and all those good things. And I'll see you next week with the mortgage insights. So that's a goodbye from me. And of course, a goodbye from him sitting on that chair. Bye.